guys, I'm back again and I have for you today my book club long list. Okay, now normally I try to do this video outside, but sadly it's been raining all the time, and when it has been raining the neighbors' kids have been screaming. So I just decided to just get to it and do it here in the living room, little bookcase. So this year we have a much smaller list than usual. I think last time we had something like 20 books or something, and this time we have 15. As you know, in the past few years the list has been fairly eclectic with some real goodies and some real duds in my opinion, but in general it's usually a pretty thought-provoking list. Shows that we have a group of ladies that like fairly different things, but sometimes we like the same thing. So let's get started with the first one. I'm going to be looking between my phone and my iPad. Alright, so the first one we have is An Officer and a Spy by Robert Harris. Now, the name Robert Harris kind of rings a bell of something, but I'm no expert with this type of literature. So as it says here, I'll read you just a little bit of what it says on Goodreads. It says, Robert Harris returns to the thrilling historical fiction he has so brilliantly made his own. This is the story of the infamous Dreyfus Affair, told as a chillingly dark, hard-edged novel of conspiracy and espionage. Paris in 1895. Alfred Dreyfus, a young Jewish officer, has been convicted of treason, sentenced to life imprisonment at Devil's Island, and stripped of his rank in front of a baying crowd of 20,000. Among the witnesses to his humiliation is George Picard, the ambitious intellectual recently promoted head of the counter-espionage agency that proved Dreyfus had passed secrets to the Germans. Okay, so you get the idea. It's going to be some historical fiction. I don't know. I mean, nah, I don't really think I really feel like reading that one. Just my opinion. Nah, bro. That doesn't sound like... I don't know. It just doesn't sound like my cup of tea. Anyway, let's go on. Book 2. All right, book 2 is 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari. Now, this one, I think everybody at least have heard of this guy before. He's had quite a few of his novels be really popular, and this one I hadn't heard of yet, but it's called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, and it says, it's Homo sapiens, excuse me. He explored our past. In Homo Deus, he looked to our future. Now, one of the most innovative thinkers on the planet turns to the present to make sense of today's most pressing issues. How do computers and robots change the meaning of being human? How do we deal with the epidemic of fake news? Are nations and religions still relevant? What should we teach our children? Yuval Noah Harari's 21 Lessons for the 21st Century is a probing and visionary investigation into today's most urgent issues as we move into the uncharted territory of the future. Okay, so we're going to talk about technology and everything that's wrong with today, that 21st century mess. I don't know. Let's see how many pages it is, because I mean, philosophical books are really not my cup of tea, although I'd be interested to hear what he has to say about the technological side of how we're living today and, some of his ideas of how he thinks that's going to affect us. But this book is 372 pages, so, I don't know. I would probably say it's a maybe for me, but I don't know. It's really going to depend on how it's written. Apparently, he writes his stuff really well. The books like fly off the shelves here. When I think it was last Christmas, it was Homo Deus, because I got it for my husband. Yeah, it's pretty popular. So I don't know. Let me know if you've read this one. Let me know what you thought about it. Does it really provoke meaningful conversation, or is it a bore to read? I don't know. Let me know, because I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about this one at all. Okay, the next one on the list, number 3, is The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Bythel. This one I had never heard of before. Sean Bythel, never heard of him before either. Basically, this book is about 310 pages. It was published in 2017. I don't remember. Sorry, I don't remember. All right, it contains 100,000 books spread over a mile of shelving with twisting corridors and roaring fires, and all set in a beautiful rural town by the edge of the sea. A book lover's paradise. Well, almost. In these wiry and hilarious diaries, Sean provides an inside look at the trials and tribulations of life in the book trade. From struggles with eccentric customers to wrangles with his own staff, who include the ski suit wearing, bin foraging Nikki. He takes us with him on buying trips to old estates and auction houses, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I don't know. I mean, you know, I like books about books, but I don't know about this one. I'm not really sure. On Goodreads, it has a 3.85. It's about a Scottish bookseller. So I suspect it's by the Scottish woman that's in the group that gave this one up. I don't know. Do I really care? I'm not really sure I do. I mean, I don't know. Nah, I don't think so. But, you know, hey, if you feel like you think I should read it, let me know. I don't know. It doesn't sound that interesting. It sounds a little bit boring. But anyway, number 4 on the list is The Power by Naomi Alderman. Now, I had put this one on the list last year, and it almost made it on the list, the final list, but it was missing 1 vote, so it was voted off. And somebody has put it on again. I still haven't read the book yet. I hear a lot of mixed things about this book. It's one of those books that obviously it's half the people are going to like it and half of the people aren't going to like it. I'm still curious about it. I still have it. So even if it's not voted on for next year's list, I will probably still read it because I have it. So let me know. This one, it says, I don't really know that much about it. And I don't know if I want to know that much about it, but the back says, she throws her head back and pushes her chest forward and lets go a huge blast right into the center of his body. The rivulets and streams of red scarring run across his chest and up around his throat. She put her hand on his heart and stopped him dead. That's what's written on the back of the book. So, yeah, that sounds like it could be brutal, to say the least. Okay, next on the list is My Absolute Darling by Gabrielle Talent. Now, this is one that I picked up at the Festival America, which happened last year, and that was in September. And I was very on the fence about picking this one up because I'd seen quite a few reviews where people said it was just, they didn't like it at all. It was just too suggestive. It was weird. So when I was at the Festival America, I had a chance to meet Gabrielle Talent. He was nice enough to sign my book. Look at that. Look at that. Great signature. I got a chance to hear him speak about this book in 2 different settings. So the one that I'm going to tell you about that was the most impressive was when he discussed his book alongside I can't remember the author's name, the one who wrote The Mothers, and of course with Jacqueline Woodson concerning Another Brooklyn. So you had 3 authors where the main characters were teenage girls being raised by their father. And I thought that was an interesting tie-in to get the 3 of these authors talking about their respective books. And that's where I became very interested in picking this up, alongside the fact that another friend from the book club strongly urged me to pick it up and said how wonderful it was and how well Gabrielle Talent writes nature, but also how well he writes a young woman, which makes sense because Gabrielle Talent was raised in a house full of women. So this one, I'll read a little bit of the back. It says, Turtle Alveston is tough At 14, she roams the woods along the northern California coast. But while her physical world is expansive, her personal one is small and treacherous. Turtle has grown up isolated since the death of her mother in the thrall of her tortured and charismatic father, Martin. Her social experience is confined to the middle school, where she fends off the interest of anyone, student or teacher, who might get close, and to her life with her father. Then Turtle meets Jacob, a high school boy who tells jokes, lives in a big clean house, and looks at Turtle as if she were the sunrise. And for the first time, the larger world begins to come into focus. Her life with Martin is neither safe nor sustainable. With Turtle's escalating acts of physical and emotional courage, the reader watches heart and throat as this teenage girl struggles to become her own hero and in the process becomes ours as well. Shot through the striking language in a fierce natural setting, My Absolute Darling is an urgently told, profoundly moving read that marks the debut of an extraordinary new writer. So yeah, I didn't put this one on the list. I don't know, somebody else did. Probably my friend who's in the book club who really liked it, who was at the Festival of America along with me. And I'm probably going to vote for this one just because I'm really, want to see where this was going to go. Quite a long book though, over 400 pages this one, believe it or not. But I'm looking forward to this one, so I will probably most likely be voting for this one. Next on the list we have The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. Now, I don't need to tell anybody about this book. Everybody knows about it. This is the nonfiction book, and as you can see here, it won the National Book Critics Award, Circle Award here. And this is the nonfiction book that basically illustrates the Great Migration, which is when African Americans moved from the south of the U.S. to other areas of the U.S., specifically to the north and out west. And I read this book quite a few years ago, but I'm anxious to read it again, like with no qualms. This is the nonfiction. Like, if you don't read nonfiction and you're like, oh no, it's too boring, and get this nonfiction right here, because this one, I tell you, you will start reading it and you're going to get sucked in so quickly. It is so interesting. It's written exactly like as if it was fiction. It's so good. So very good. So if this gets voted again, I will be happy to reread it because I've been wanting to reread it for a while. Okay, next on the list we have The Year of the Runaways by Sanjeev Sahota. Now, this book came out in 2015, and I think it was on the Man Booker Longlist, if I remember correctly, because I have a copy of it somewhere and I can't seem to put my hands on it. This book is 468 pages. It says, 3 young men and 1 unforgettable woman come across in a journey from India to England, where they hope to begin something new to support their families, to build their futures, to show their worth, to escape the past. They have almost no idea what awaits them. In a dilapidated shared house in Sheffield, a former rickshaw driver will say nothing about his life in Bihar. Avtar and Randeep are middle-class boys whose families are slowly sinking into financial ruin, bound together by Avtar's secret. Randeep, in turn, has a visa wife across town whose cupboards are full of her husband's clothes in case immigration agents surprise her with a visit. Okay, so you get an idea. It's going to be one of those hair-raising stories. It's literary fiction. This could be extremely interesting to talk about, being, it's the main topic of the moment. Okay, next on the list is it's called The Tattooist Artist by Jill Cement. Or Cement? Cement. Yeah. This book is about 224 pages. It was published in 2006. Now, I've never heard of this author before and never heard of this title before. But it says, in 1970, Sarah Unreich boards a small plane and returns to New York City with much fanfare. She will be featured in Life magazine. She has not left Tahuhu, the South Seas island upon which she and her husband Philip were marooned during a storm, in more than 30 years. Sarah doesn't know that man has landed on the moon. She has never seen a ballpoint pen. Her body is covered head to toe in tattoos. Flashback. It's 1918 and Sarah, a shop girl and aspiring artist, meets Philip, a wealthy member of the avant-garde elite. The two fall in love, marry, and collaborate to make art, surrounded by socialites and revolutionaries. Okay, you get the idea. So yeah, I kind of like the way this one sounds. It sounds like it could be fairly adventurous and, I don't know, a little different than what I'm used to reading. So let me know below if you read this one. I'm kind of intrigued for that. Next on the list, we have a book called The Parisian by Isabella Hammond. Now, this one here again, another one I've not heard about before, so you're gonna have to drop me a line below if you think I should, choose this one. Okay, this is 710 pages on an ebook. Okay, it says, as the First World War shatters families, destroys friendships, and kills lovers, a young Palestinian dreamer sets out to find himself. Midhat Kamal picks his way across a fractured world, from the shifting politics of the Middle East to the dinner tables of Montpellier and a newly tumultuous Paris. He discovers that everything is fragile. Love turns to loss, friends become enemies, and everyone is looking for a place to belong. Isabel Hamad delicately unpicks the tangled politics and personal tragedies of a turbulent era. The Palestinian struggles for independence from the British Mandate, the strife of the early 20th century, and the looming shadow of the Second World War. I don't know, but it sounds like it could be damned interesting. This was published in 2019. This is a new book, April 2019. I hadn't heard anyone talk about this one. Yeah. So, yeah, let me know what you think about that one, because it sounds very interesting. Next on the list, we have, it's The Lie by Helen Dunmore. Okay, this is another one. Never heard of it before. It seems like I've heard the name, her last name before, though. Ellen Dunmore. I don't know. It sounds familiar. Okay, this is another book that's around 304 pages. It was published in 2014, and it covers the war. So it says, set just after the First World War, The Lie is an enthralling, heart-wrenching novel of love, memory, and devastating loss by one of the UK's most acclaimed storytellers. Okay, acclaimed, but I don't know her. Cornwall, 1920, early spring. A young man stands on a headland looking out to sea. He is back from the war, homeless and without family. Behind him lie the mud, barbed wire, entanglements, and terror of the trenches. Behind him is also the most intense relationship of his life. Daniel has survived, but the horror and passion of the past seem more real than quiet feels around him. He is about to step into the unknown. Okay, so yeah, I don't know, because I always have problems with these kinds of stories, like war stories, whatever, that have like a love story inside of them, because you never know what they're really going to focus on, and sometimes it doesn't work very well. But anyway, okay, so that's that one. Next on the list, I don't have to tell you anything about that one. You already know. It's called Educated by Tara Westover. This has been everywhere. I think it was one of the books that was on Barack Obama's best books of the year to read. This one came out last year in 2018. And basically it's Tara Westover was 17 the first time she set foot in a classroom. Born to survivalist in the mountains of Idaho, she prepared for the end of the world by stockpiling home-canned peaches and sleeping with her head for the hills bag in the summer. She stewed herbs for her mother, a midwife and healer, yada, yada, yada. And okay, so she eventually gets educated. Okay, I'm not really sure I'm that interested in reading this story. And I can't really explain why. I don't care at the moment I just don't care for it. So I don't really know. But if I have to read it, I'll read it. But I don't think I'll be voting for it, because it's just, I have bigger fish to fry, so no to that one. We have another one. It's called Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. I've never heard of this book before. 342 pages. It was published in 2017. It has over 4 stars on Goodreads, if that means anything to you. It says Memphis 1939, 12-year-old Real Foss and her 4 younger siblings live a magical life aboard the family's Mississippi River shanty boat. But when their father must rush their mother to the hospital one stormy night, Real is left in charge until strangers arrive in force. Wrenched from all that is familiar and thrown into a Tennessee Children's Home Society orphanage. The Foss children are assured that they will soon be returned to their parents, but they quickly realize the dark truth. At the mercy of the facility's cruel director, Real fights to keep her sisters and brother together in a world of danger and uncertainty. I don't want to read. I don't want to read this. No. I don't like reading these kind of books. I won't be voting for this one. Let's just hope nobody else wants to read it either, because that's going to have to be a no ma'am for me. Sorry. The next book on the list is called Listen to the Marriage by John J. Osborne Jr. Okay, now this one, I haven't read this one either, and I haven't heard of this author either. It was published in 2018. Here again, another new book that I've never heard of, author I have never heard of. 256 pages. It says, a riveting drama of marital therapy. Gretchen and Steve have been married for a long time. Living in San Francisco, recently separated with 2 children and demanding jobs, they've started going to a marriage counselor. Unfolding over the course of 10 months and taking place entirely in the marriage counselor's office, John J. Osborne's Listen to the Marriage is a story of a fractured couple in a moment of crisis and of the person who tries to get them to see each other again. A searching look at the obstacles we put in our way as well as the forces that drive us apart. No, ma'am. That doesn't sound like anything I really want to read. Not really. No, ma'am. Okay, next on the list, we have She Would Be King. And that is by Waitu Moore. It was released in September 2018. And it is 312 pages. A novel of exhilarating range, magical realism and history, a dazzling retelling of Liberia's formation. This is her debut novel, reimagines the dramatic story of Liberia's early years through 3 unforgettable characters who share an uncommon bond. Okay, so you guessed it, it's me who suggested this one, but that's just because I've been wanting to read this one for a while. I don't own it, but I've been wanting to read it. It just sounds interesting. So let's just hope it gets picked. I always like it when my books get picked. The last book on the list is The Overstory. Yeah, I picked that one as well. And The Overstory is by Richard Powers. Yes, I put this one on the list. No, I have not read it yet. It was the Pulitzer Prize winner in 2019. 2019 or 2008. No, 2018. So this one is, The Overstory is a sweeping, impassioned work of activism and resistance that is also a stunning evocation of paean to the natural world. From the roots to the crown and back to the seeds, Richard Powers' 12th novel unfolds in concentric rings of interlocking fables that range from antebellum New York to the late 20th century timber wars of the Pacific Northwest and beyond. There is a world alongside ours, vast, slow, interconnected, resourceful, magnificently inventive, and almost invisible to us. So yeah, I suggested this one because I thought this would be an excellent book to discuss and a very different book to discuss. Okay, it's not short, it's 512 pages. But I think it's going to be worth it. I don't know. I just think deep down inside it's going to be worth it. Those are the 15 books. Let me know below if any of these you think I should absolutely vote for or I should absolutely not vote for. I will be back with the short list once we have voted, which will be in June. I think it's the 15th of June. We will be having our next book club, or our last book club of the school year. So we will start up again the school year 2019 to 2020. So I'll be back with that in June. Bye.